One of the things you should think about as a small business is what is this campaign's time to first lead, TTFL. So let's talk about that and what that means, because when you're considering different marketing campaigns, one of the things you should be thinking about is how long of a window on average am I expecting it to take before I get my first qualified lead? Because really it's qualified lead. I mean, if you get a lead that sucks, you're not going to count that. So we're talking about like, this is the person I was targeting. This is the kind of person I want coming into my business from an ad or marketing campaign. So I'm going to go through each of the different most common campaign types and what I think you should consider as an average time to first qualified lead. Let's start with SEO. Okay, so SEO, as we all know or should know, is changing to the point where it's basically considered to be going away largely in the next 12 to 18 months and being replaced by AI search completely, including with Google. So with SEO, traditionally, depending on whether you're local, two things control it: how competitive it is, and then what the scope is. Like if you're a national company competing nationally, but it all comes down to competition, right? If you're competing in New York City, if you're competing in a small town, that's competition. If you're competing in that regional local area versus the nation, there's more money on the table, bigger players. It's going to give you a sliding scale of like, it can take results and first lead from SEO can take with a local campaign. I'd say 6 months would be the bare minimum on a pure organic SEO campaign. You're not running ads or anything, all the way up to 2 years on a competitive national campaign. And that's if the company's good, because if you're competitive and national and your SEO company is not really on it, you could spend 5 years and not rank and not get a lead. Anyhow, let's move on from SEO. Let's go to AI search, which is what I just talked about, is replacing SEO eventually soon, and it's already starting to do that. I have an AI rank system is my AI search company, and so we actually are putting this into practice. And so I can tell you right now, this is one of the reasons I'm doing this, is because SEO takes so freaking long and it's a dying game. So we're really excited about AI search. We are seeing time to first qualified lead for our clients on an average of 2 to 4 months, and it's been so far 2 to 3. I'm going to say 4 just because I know it could take a little longer. But for every client that we have run an AI search campaign for, took them from complete invisibility on the LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, etc. We have gotten them a first qualified lead within 2 to 3 months with every single one of them. In putting into practice in the last year for our own agency, that's what's happened. And that's why it's exciting, because you can actually get a lead from an organic campaign in less than a couple of months. Anyhow, let's move on from that. Google Ads. Okay, so Google Ads cost a lot of money because you got to pay for the marketing, the person who's managing it, and then you got to pay for the ads, right? So that's why a lot of people don't do Google Ads. Google Ads are tied to Google search, so I would caution that AI search is already affecting PPC heavily, but with that caveat, and that it's going to continue to do so. But with that caveat in mind, let's move on to just like, how fast do you get a lead? We see Google leads come in within a few days when we're running a campaign in almost every case. I just started running a campaign for a dentist. He had his first lead in a couple days. Facebook campaign, I'd say a little longer than that. It totally depends though. I mean, we've gotten Facebook leads on the first day many, many, many times. I should say Meta, because it's like Instagram as well. That's happened quite a bit. So, but I would say probably on average, it would be 2 to 5 days for a Meta campaign. But again, lots of times, and it just depends on what it is. Competitiveness, also the quality of the ads, the creative, the messaging, the offer, everything matters, as it does with the other types of campaigns. But Meta's a little bit more complicated than Google in the sense of you have to have more moving parts and pieces in place to make the campaign work, including audience targeting, which is why I have a data company, because that audience data helps those types of campaigns. But I digress. Other ones are very variable, like for example, direct mail campaigns. Oh, by the way, yeah, people still do send postal mail, guys, and it's not a bad idea. In fact, going back to the intent data, when we have lists of people that have been searching for what you do, sending a postcard to them with an offer is a really good idea, because most people, when they do those, like Valpak campaigns or whatever it is in your area, they just like spam anybody. And it works a lot better if you actually target people that are interested in what you're doing. That is a campaign that can completely vary from, it depends on your quantity. Like, did you send out 1,000 postcards? Did you send out 100? Did you send out 10,000? So I really won't even comment on that one, because again, now you're talking about copy, offer, competitiveness, quantity. All these things matter. How hot is your product in the current marketplace? Is it something, is it seasonal? But I'd say that's a solid choice for people. And it's a very underrated choice, because in this digital age, People forget about getting into people's mailboxes. Guess what? If you send a postcard campaign or a letter campaign, you will actually get into their mailbox, literal mailbox. Whereas with a cold email campaign, for example, as much as I'm a fan of those in some circumstances for B2B, a lot of times it's really hard to get into the inbox. And even when you do get into the inbox, there's a lot of like, this is spam and a lot of negativity. I'm not saying people are thrilled about junk mail, but if something catches somebody's eye and it's an attractive offer, I'd say like you have less resistance there than you would have with a spammy feeling email. TikTok campaigns are really the same as Meta, so I'm not going to say anything different or special about that. Programmatic advertising, I haven't talked a lot about that on here. We're doing programmatic advertising campaigns. What those are audience centric. So we can target a particular audience and then follow them across multiple platforms. So we can advertise on multiple platforms in one campaign, including TV ads. So we can run what are called CTV ads. Doesn't have to include that. CPMs are a little higher, but getting back to the point of this video, which is how long does it take if you run a programmatic ad campaign to get your first qualified lead? I would say, generally speaking, within the first week. That's what you're going to see.